All traditions of inquiry and action are characterized by the values which guide its practice. These values can be called the epistemic virtues for that system of learning and doing. In previous events, we have identified 10 epistemic virtues for comprehensive exploration. First, adequate breadth. Adequate breadth is the aspiration to engage and accommodate a sufficiently large and diverse collection of other traditions in our explorations. In Buckminster Fuller's terms, this aspiration is the injunction to begin all our explorations with universe, which he defined as all humanity's consciously apprehended and communicated experience. Our second epistemic virtue is adequate depth. This is the aspiration to comprehend each subject explored in as much detail as is judged reasonable. Our third epistemic virtue of comprehensive learning is empiricism. This is the aspiration to both infer hypotheses and to assess them from the concrete evidence in humanity's inventory of experience in the universe as defined by Buckminster Fuller. Fourth epistemic virtue for our comprehensive learning, multiple working hypotheses or multiple perspectives. This is the recognition that there are multiple perspectives from which to consider a subject and multiple hypotheses that may help us understand it. Therefore, comprehensive inquiry and action aspires to identify and consider sufficient numbers of perspectives and hypotheses to adequately inform our analytical, synthetic, and integrative imaginations. Fifth epistemic virtue I have for comprehensive learning is an adequate wholeness for meaning making. This is the recognition that the meaning-making process involves the dynamics of Gestalt shifts and Gestalt crystallizations that bring into focus identified complexes of interdefined resonant relations that form significant wholes. Jan Zwicky highlights this idea as the experience of meaning. For the sixth epistemic virtue for comprehensive learning, mystique. This is the realization that there will always be inherent gaps in our understanding, communication, and in our desired outcomes in our designs. Mystique is the aspiration to identify and further minimize these gaps through iterative, comprehensive exploration. Formulating good questions can help us identify and negotiate these gaps. Generalized principles is the next one. Generalized principles are the aspiration to refine the meaningful wholes we identify through consideration of the gaps seen by our mystique into principles that abstract and accommodate vast subsets of humanity's accumulated inventory of experiences. As such, generalized principles are one of the most important qualities of our learning. I want to look next at integrity as epistemic virtue for comprehensive learning. Integrity I define as the aspiration to accommodate and account for each experience, perspective, hypothesis, idea, and generalized principle relevant to our inquiry and/or action as an all-encompassing coherent whole or schema. That is the aspiration to integrate our comprehensive exploration into a comprehensively integral whole, into an integrity. I've talked in some previous events about thoroughly refined ignorance, and I'm defining it now as the epistemic virtue of comprehensive comprehension. It is the aspiration to structure all our learning, for example, from the previous 8 epistemic virtues, with a fabric of questions. So the fabric of questions is key. These questions systematically interrogate the gaps that are identified by our mystique, to situate all of our experiences, perspectives, hypotheses, ideas, generalized principles, and integrities in our thoroughly refined ignorance, which may be our ever-evolving and always nuanced design judgment, which I'm calling our comprehensive comprehensions. And now my final 10th epistemic virtue for comprehensive learning: collaborative comprehensive exploration. This is the aspiration to listen to and work with others by sharing our individually articulated experiences, perspectives, hypotheses, ideas, generalized principles, integrities, and comprehensive comprehensions, to collaboratively compose new comprehensive comprehensions, or perhaps their underlying components, the other 9 in our list, right? So that, which we might not have imagined independently if we weren't working collaboratively.